Alright, this is pretty cool. We just pulled up to the Bass Pro Shops here. Stick Marsh Outpost down here, south end of Florida. We walked in at a cool time because they're feeding all the alligators. They just literally lined them all up. There's a certain pecking order, if you will. It's like just like if they were out in the wild, there's like a natural pecking order. They set up a pecking order here so that the smallest one feeds in a different area than the biggest one. So they're all lined up here. This is pretty cool. That was pretty cool seeing those alligators get fed outside here. Dude, look at that. There's a couple big ones here. All right, you know, today I really want to give you guys a simple tip here. You know, we just walked in the Bass Pro Shops here. I know that I'm gonna be fishing a kind of shallow, grassy lake over the next week, actually over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I need to do a little restocking on my tackle, it being early in the year. Of course, we're down here in Florida, and I get asked all the time, you know, how do I fish a grassy lake? And myself, growing up on the California Delta, I developed several different techniques to help me catch more fish out there on those grass lakes that I'm not typically familiar with. So if you have a grass lake nearby you, apply these techniques and apply this mindset that I'm about to give you here in this week's tip to help you catch more fish. So it's really simple, and it all boils down to a 1-2 approach. And it's something really, really fast, and then something really, really slow. So whether you're down there in Florida, back home on the California Delta, up north fishing Lake Oneida, flipping grass, whatever it is, these techniques and these lure selections will help you catch more fish in grassy type lakes. So before we get into you know, lure specifics and technique specifics, I always wanted to do this, but I say this in seminars at times. If you ever go to the Bass Pro and you look at the tank they have, you can learn a lot about a largemouth bass just by looking at his mood in these tanks. And when you go out on the water and you translate that to when you're looking at the electronics, whether it's Mega Live, looking forward, and you see a fish just chilling in the grass, like that's that guy down right there. I mean, he's kind of away from the pack. He's just down there chilling. He's kind of in a negative mood. That fish probably won't bite either your lure or even a live minnow if they were to throw that in right now. Then you look at some of these other ones up top that are real actively cruising. It looks like they're hunting, their eyeballs are moving, and they're looking at the little bluegills and things like that. Just think about when you're on the water fishing those grassy lakes, you're after that type of fish that's high in the water and actively searching and swimming out. And whenever you see these guys on your electronics, these guys are in this negative mood, almost sleeping, and you see them at the bottom of the tank all the time. This is the same thing that happens out in the wild on the lake you're fishing. You'll have those really negative mood fish, and then you'll have those positive mood fish that are always willing to bite. And those are the ones we're after. All right, so coming down one of the hard bait aisles here, I talked about you know, a 1-2 punch. I always want something fast I could cover a lot of water with. So whether you're fishing your familiar grassy lake where you know where all the grass edges and grass holes, isolated clumps are, you know where to throw, or like me where you're trying to break something down, break a lake down quickly, you gotta have some type of moving bait. I tend to stay away from, you know, your square bills, jerk baits, deeper diving crankbaits. I tend to stay away from that strictly because they have treble hooks, and we all know treble hooks get caught up in the grass a lot easier than some of the other lures I'm about to talk about. But what I recommend doing is just selecting 1 or 2 fast moving baits, one that stays higher in the water column or after those more aggressive fish, and then one that stays in the lower part of the water column, something like a swimworm, or one of my favorites, a swim jig. So just a simple 1/4 to 3/8 ounce swim jig. It imitates a lot of different forage, like a shad, like a bluegill. Pair it up with, you know, one of your favorite trailers, and you know, you can work that jig and trailer swim jig through that grass really effectively and cover a lot of water doing so. And with this swim jig here, you know, it's got a weed guard. Some of them have rattles, but it's got a nice natural skirt, and you pair it with one of your favorite, I like the craw style. This is a Kraken craw here. And you just kind of pop it along, and you could bury it down in the weeds if you want, bury it down in the grass, kind of pop it out, swim it out, work it fast, cover a lot of water quickly and effectively, and it stays unhung. All right, that, you know, regular swim jig works really well on those green pumpkins, black and blues. Perhaps one of my, probably this is the #1 in this whole video, is just a vibrating jig, 1/2 ounce in a white color, and I pair it up with a 6-inch dart. I mean, this is absolutely one of the best combos you could ever come across when you're fishing a grassy type lake. So 1/2 ounce, you can use a 3/8 as well, but 1/2 ounce day in and day out works really well. 15, 17, 20 pound test. That 6-inch Guggen Baits dart. You literally just take off about half the bait like that, and I rig it upside down. So normally we rig that dart with that belly downwards. I like to flip it over and rig it straight on there just like so. And this setup right here, matter of fact, the guy holding the camera right now, Johnny, loves throwing a vibrating jig in a white color. And when I showed him this setup right here, especially this trailer, this chatterbait style trailer, 6-inch dart, I mean, that thing catches fish. I mean, day in, day out on a grassy lake, that catches fish. When you're selecting a vibrating jig trailer, select something that doesn't have all the flanges and movement like the swim jig has. You want something straight, but also something flexible that moves. You know, as that vibrating jig does its thing, moves along and vibrates, that tail is actually just a trailer that trails that bait and just gives it that real lifelike action. And I know I'm gonna be fishing a couple different lakes down here in Florida, grassy lakes, and I'll probably catch 80% of my fish on this exact rig right there. So we're gonna throw that one definitely in our cart. So that covers pretty much top to bottom when it comes to covering water. And I did mention one soft bait that works day in and day out as well when it comes to covering that water quickly, and it's this one over here. So we've all seen guys catch them on the swimworm. There's different types of vibrating swimworms, but recently here Guggen Baits came out with one, and this is the exact same color and exact same you know, style I wanted. This is the blazing worm, black and blue. Can't go wrong with black and blue. You know, around grass, when the water's clear, when the water's dirty, black and blue just works phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. I like to rig this on a 3/16 ounce tungsten weight, 4/0 hook, offset hook. You cannot go wrong. Cast it out, cover a lot of water, stay on the trolling motor, fish the clumps, isolated clumps, fish the long stretches of a grass line. And the more water you cover, the more information you're going to receive, and the more you could start to slow down. Once you start getting a few bites on those 3 moving baits, we could start slowing down, and then you could use these next 2 lures that I highly recommend once you found them with the winding baits. All right, we all know creature baits catch fish, even in those deep rocky lakes, but especially on grassy lakes. Bandito bug. A bandito bug, especially in these more natural colors, green pumpkin blues, your black and blues, watermelon red. This thing just represents either a crawdad or a bluegill, and it represents them really, really well. It's up to you as the angler to select the right terminal tackle, the right weight that match the grassy conditions you're fishing. I talked about those isolated clumps out towards the middle in that 4, 5, 6 feet of water. We might want to flip that with a 1/2 ounce weight. You know, then we get right on the bank, you have some matted cover, you're going to want to go with a 1 ounce to 1.5 ounce weight and punch this creature bait through. I know this is all really basic, but it's something to think about, and it's overall, we're simplifying everything in that 1-2 kind of punch. So once we find them, we just go ahead and dob around and flip around and really see what's in that area. And that's really when you can get a big, big bite. So definitely a bandito bug, rig Texas, 1/4, 1/2 ounce, and 1 ounce plus. And of course, especially down here in Florida, but when we talk about slowing down and really milking a spot, I remember a couple tournaments I've had in the past up there on Lake Cayuga, you know, opposite end of Florida type fishing. I was flipping a sinking worm, you know, outside of a flipping bandito bug. You know, the second bait I'd recommend, it's one I never ever leave the dock without, is a lunker log. And down here where there's a lot of 5, 6, 7 pounders, I'm gonna go ahead and grab the 6-inch lunker log. but a 5-inch will probably work from coast to coast, from Gulf all the way up to the Canadian border. But I'm gonna throw a little twist in it. You know, everyone likes to throw a Texas rig. I just talked about a Texas rig with the Bandito bug. Here's the twist that I'm gonna show you here. Not a lot of pros, not a lot of people in general talk about this style of rigging for a lunker log. And in my opinion, it's the best style of rigging you could possibly have, you know, with the proven lunker log. And let me just show you what I'm talking about here. If you think about a traditional Texas rig, and you know, we've seen it time and time again on tour, you know, we've seen all the pond hoppers, they have so much success rigging a lunker log, Texas style, 4/0, 5/0 hook with a little baby 16th ounce, 8th ounce, you know, bullet weight on the front. But what happens is when you rig it that way, and it catches fish, trust me, you pitch it out there and it falls straight down, almost like a Texas rig Bandito bug or a jig, falls straight down. How do we promote that horizontal wiggle that really gets the fish's attention, gets them biting, even those negative mood fish that we just saw in the tank? How do we get it down there and maintain that wiggle? The answer is with a belly style hook. So grab your favorite swim bait or belly style hook and rig that lunker log as such. Go ahead and screw it on there. And then let's just go ahead and Texas rig this so it's weedless. But now, instead of having a, you know, 1/8 ounce, 3/16 ounce Texas rig weight on the front of it, it's now belly weighted to where it promotes that horizontal wiggle that works so well when you're chasing big bass. So there you have it. That's pretty much it. I mean, this is literally, I'm literally filling up a basket right here with, you know, plastics and terminal tackle that I'm going to buy and purchase and use over the next couple of weeks down here in Florida when I'm fishing these grass lakes. So just keep it in mind. Keep it simple, get you a couple fast moving, I'm literally get you two, you know, a winding bait like a chatterbait or a swim jig. Stick with those, cover a lot of water till you get a couple bites, and then slow down. Let's take the trolling motor from 60%, let's knock it down to 25%, and just slow down a little bit and pick up different rigs like this and a Bandito bug, maybe even a jig, and just start dobbing around, flipping around, fishing slow, more horizontal presentations, just nice and slow. Really pick apart that cover after you've located a few bites. So that's just my simple 1-2 punch. Those are the lures. Get yourself some confidence in them. Apply it out there on your grassy lakes, and I promise you'll do a lot better in the tournaments, or you'll catch a couple more bass that you could really hold up and show them off. So until next time, I'm out.